Welcome to Part 3 in Northern Perspectives review of Justin Trudeau's Top 10 Scandals. The ArriveCan app was developed and introduced in April of 2020 as a COVID-19 screening and communication tool for travelers. The idea was to allow users to upload their health information, contact information, travel information, and quarantine plans to the app, alleging that it would make border crossing easier. How? We're not sure.
Now to a frustrated Ottawa woman stuck in quarantine for 14 days after she says she had issues accessing the must-have ArriveCan app.
Lori Rockburn-Dunlop crossed at a land border last week and says she was given no other option when technology failed her.
I viewed this more as being told I'm under house arrest for the next 2 weeks.
What was supposed to be a short shopping trip to Watertown, New York with a friend has now become a 2-week-long nightmare for Ottawa's Lori Rockburn-Dunlop.
We got a notice of non-compliance, which tells us that we are under quarantine for 14 days.
Crossing the border in Ogdensburg, Rockburn-Dunlop says she had downloaded the must-have ArriveCan app but couldn't access her account.
What we said was, well, when we get to the border, we'll explain what happened and maybe they can help us out. I explained to him that I knew we needed it. I had downloaded the app, but it wasn't sending me an email with my new password. His reply was, well, it's working for other people.
Since February, the use of the ArriveCan app has been mandatory for all air and land travelers. Last month, rules changed to allow travelers to re-enter Canada without a negative PCR test for short trips, but inputting vaccine proof and travel information into the app is still needed.
It wasn't our fault. We tried all day to get onto this app, and then we're called liars. Don't understand why there's no recourse for technical issues.
And for Rockburn-Dunlop, the 2-week quarantine will take a toll. She's a caregiver for her parents, her 100-year-old dad recovering from a recent heart attack.
This means I can't get groceries for them for 2 weeks. I can't help them with appointments or things they need to go to. I had to cancel a medical appointment.
She and her friend are both fully vaccinated, but were given 2 PCR tests at the border, mandated to take them during quarantine, the first sent off for results already.
I got my negative results.
Rockburn-Dunlop says she's since received communications by phone and email reminding her of legal consequences for breaking quarantine. CTV News has reached out to the Canadian Border Services Agency for comment and clarification, but has not heard back. And so for now, this Ottawa woman stuck at home, she says, with no answers about what she could have done differently.
We had the app. It wouldn't work. I feel like the government has let us down.
Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News.
One of the major complaints with the app from the border guards complaining that they spent an inordinate amount of time helping people upload their information to the app properly. All travelers entering Canada were required to use the app until October 1st, 2022, when mandatory use was discontinued, along with proof of vaccination. It was also very glitchy.
The controversial ArriveCan app is facing more criticism tonight. Since it was launched in April of 2020, it has sparked hundreds of complaints from Canadians. It's been called unreliable, cumbersome, glitchy, and a barrier for those who are technically challenged. But now there are concerns the app may be violating Canadians' constitutionally protected rights. Our Mercedes Stevenson has more in our top story tonight.
The ArriveCan app is the gateway to Canada. No app, no entry. You're supposed to be able to just fill out this form and breeze through the border.
A lot of tears. There's been a lot of fear. For no reason.
But for thousands of fully vaccinated Canadians like Katie Lister, glitches and errors have resulted in false quarantine orders, with real impacts on their lives.
Getting daily 3 calls, sometimes 4 calls a day, including human officers who've not even taken the time to go into my file and be like, oh shoot, she's triple vaccinated and she arrived on the 16th, she's fine.
It's not just about the stress. Some data and privacy experts are warning the app could be violating Canadians' constitutional rights, when it fails and wrongly quarantines people, including the charter right to freedom of movement.
We don't know.
One expert thinks it could even rise to the level of unlawful detention.
It creates direct harm for people who are receiving this incorrect notification and following it.
And there's no...
Law professor Charisma Mathen has concerns about app glitches.
It is an error, so by definition, it's not a justified infringement of your liberty.
But Mathen says because the government has taken reasonable steps to try to resolve erroneous orders, she's not sure this rises to the level of a charter rights violation. A recent glitch affected approximately 10,000 Canadians, wrongly telling them to quarantine. Global News has learned it took the government nearly 12 days to inform people of that error. The experience has left lingering fears about the next border crossing for many.
I'm fearful of going back to my own country when I shouldn't whatsoever. I have these questions.
Global News spoke with several Canadians, including Katie, who struggled to talk to a human to try to resolve the situation. And Farah, this relates some of the big issues: lack of oversight and transparency, the difficulty getting an error fixed with a person, and the use of artificial intelligence to make decisions about something as major as a quarantine without a human in the loop. I ran into this myself recently returning to Canada, but was fortunate to have mine resolved relatively quickly.
It instructed more than 10,000 people to quarantine, despite having no reason for them to do so. The ArriveCan app also came with a jaw-dropping price tag of $54 million. Instead of hiring a Canadian app developer, the government instead used 23 separate contractors and an unknown number of subcontractors. When the Globe and Mail attempted to find out the names of these subcontractors, or even how many of them there were, they were told that the identities of the subcontractors couldn't be revealed because of confidentiality provisions in federal procurement rules. Other tech companies have said that an app like ArriveCan shouldn't cost more than $1 million. 2 app developers were independently able to create clones of the app over a 3-day weekend, and estimated the cost was approximately $250,000. And wouldn't you know, our favorite public safety minister, Mendicino, defended the cost.
I think to be direct about it, now that ArriveCan will be optional, that will actually be a more straightforward change because it will be at the choice of the traveler to use that technology, and all other restrictions will be lifted. So in a way, I think the update to our frontline CBSA officers will be more straightforward that way. Well, I've uploaded it, and I know that there's various anecdotes out there, some people who were very frustrated and others who have said that their experience was actually quite smooth. And I do think that, consistent with the principle that we've used in using technology on a go forward, I think it's important that we are always leveraging new innovations so that traveler experience can be smooth and effective. And for those Canadian travelers and for those travelers abroad who do choose to use this application, we'll use their experience to continue to improve that platform, because ultimately we want people to be able to travel smoothly and effectively and efficiently.
As it is no longer mandatory, it is still an investment that will carry forward for those who want to use it. CBC reports that only about 10% of travelers arriving to Canada's major airports are still using the app. Now, having some insight into this, I can tell you that this app should never have cost anywhere near $54 million. It shouldn't have cost over $1 million. It shouldn't have cost over $500,000. Depending on the infrastructure behind it, it may have not even needed to cost $250,000. So, the major question remains, who got paid? And in subsequent discussions within the government, even the contractors that they were able to get the names of had stated that they didn't even get paid from this $54 million that was alleged to have been spent. So where did it go?